Hey, what's going on? I'm taking a moment. I'm kind of reflecting back on some things. The only reason I bring this up, and more or less the only reason I'm making this whole video, is because I've been thinking about kind of just how things have been with me and how I've gotten to this point of life and this point in life. It's one of those things where in the moment you don't realize what you're doing, but in hindsight, when you look back on it, then you're like, okay. So there's definitely things we could have done better. And I bring this up because oftentimes, people question why I am so hesitant to do things with the car anymore because of what has happened. Well, that's exactly why, is because this was a very expensive learning experience that I don't want to have to go through again. As I meet more people, as I talk to more people, as I build my presence up and people find out about me, people in Florida are starting to get in touch with me, and I want to build connections. I want to make friends. And I want to go out and have fun and meet more car people, but doing it with this car is it's tough because I want to, but I don't want to, if that makes any sense. Yeah, people are asking me to go to like Test and 2 nights or like street nights or something and go race with them and stuff, and I wish I could. Not to say I can't. Nothing's stopping me. Except me, and that's the problem. It's because this whole experience with having to replace this engine on this car has created some like PTSD in me. Like I will get, like if I'm going out making a video, doing any of the stuff I'm doing, with all the little test videos, any of the videos that I make with Buster that requires me to do some hard driving, man, I get anxiety through the roof, and I'm already an anxious person as it is. So worrying about that happening again has taken so much enjoyment out of things for me with this car, and that's why I don't, really try to go racing, and I only do these small little videos where I'm doing some pulls. I haven't even gone and tried to do any like 1/8 mile or 1/4 mile street hits for multiple reasons, but mainly because I'm afraid. I'm afraid to have another EcoBoom. And honestly, if it happens again, I don't know what I would do because the money's not there. And honestly, if it wasn't for the Fiero, I'm so upset that I had to sell that car, but I'm so glad I had it, because if it wasn't for that car, Buster wouldn't even be here today, probably. I would have to have surrendered the car back to the bank, and there's nothing I could have done about it because there was just no way I was going to be able to fix it. I spent somewhere around $6,000 maybe, and that's on the cheaper end because a dealership would probably charge you close to $8,000 to $10,000 for a factory replacement. That's a lot of money, man, and I'm telling you, things have not gotten easier in the world. I'm sure you are feeling it because I sure am, and stuff's not getting cheaper. And these cars I'm done. I am so done with modern cars because they're so expensive. I mean, it's one thing when you mess up a mechanical component, but God forbid you damage any of the body parts. Those headlights are $1,200 a piece. Ask me how I know, because that's a new one. It's like just so many things when these new cars are so absurdly expensive. When you go through all the effort, you put all this time and all this money into these things, and one day you could just lose everything in a blink of an eye. And that has scarred me. This whole experience has really put a number on me and what I'm willing to do with this car and how far I'm willing to go. I'm taking my time. I'm spreading all of what I have planned out. I'm dragging it as far out as possible. So, I have time to build up money in between and put money aside for any future crap that goes on. The sad reality is I'm afraid. I'm afraid to lose this car. That's why I'm afraid to drive it. That's why I'm afraid to race it. That's why I'm afraid to push it. It's kind of counterintuitive considering all of what I've done to the car. If I wasn't going to push it, why did I put the kind of money I did, or why did I order the parts that I have done? And it's like, okay, it's not that I don't want to, I'm just afraid. As time goes on, I will get maybe less afraid, but honestly, like I said, if this new engine takes a crap on me, boy, we are in trouble because YouTube ain't paying the bills like it used to. Not that it really was, but it's a lot less now than it was. But yeah, so aside from that, I wanted to talk about how I got to this point. And maybe you can relate, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot. I've been reflecting back on how I've gotten to this point in life. And I think I figured it out, which is something a lot of people probably don't realize that they have done or are doing. And it's a vicious cycle that can really mess you up. So here is what I think about that. You know, when I started getting into cars, it really started with the Cobra, I think, because the Cobra was actually a really nice car. It was in really good condition, considering all things. I kind of did a lot of things I probably shouldn't have, and I didn't have the money to do the work right. So I ended up making the car worse than it was when I bought it, but that's kind of where it all started. Because when I got the car, I really didn't need to do much to anything to it other than drive it and enjoy it. And that's what I said I was going to do. I wasn't going to go and put any more money in modifications. I'd already had a lot of stuff done to it. So I was just going to maintain it, keep it nice, and enjoy it. I wasn't going to drive it hard. I wasn't going to race it. Blah, 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 blah. I was just going to drive it and enjoy it. But, you know, a couple months into it, oh no, I want to change this. Oh no, I want to add that part. Oh, I think I want to put this on. Maybe I could use a little bit more power. And then it all starts. Not knowing that car, first thing I did was go on to Facebook, find all the groups for, you know, Cobras, and join forums and all of that. Once you start doing that and you start exposing yourself to these other people who have their cars, you start seeing what they're doing. And then you're like, whoa, I like what they're doing. Wow, I wish I could do that with mine. So then you start feeling like, all right, well, if they're going to do it with their car, I got to do it with my car. So you start seeing what other people are doing, and then you're trying to do what they're doing. And then that develops into, well, if they're doing something, then I got to do it, but I gotta do it better than them. I can't let them have something nicer than me. So it spirals into this chaotic cycle, keeping up with the Joneses. And it really, that's all it is. It's the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, or the fear of missing out. You know, you see people, what they're doing to their cars, and you feel like, well, you know, you feel left out. You're like, well, if they can do it with their cars, I can do it with my car. You know, they put a nice set of wheels on their car. Mine still got stock wheels, man. This looks like crap. I can't let this happen. Joe Schmo down the street just put a cold air on his car. He got it tuned. He's got long tube headers. Mine's got stock exhaust. I can't let that happen. Man, I need long tube headers. I need the best long tube headers I can find. In my case, you know, I wanted my car to look different. So I went down this rabbit hole of making custom body parts and stuff for the Cobra. And honestly, had I been able to do it correctly, probably it would have looked really good. I'm not gonna lie. I was really proud of myself with that, adapting GT350 styling to it. And I spent a lot of time and money just trying to make my car look different from the next Cobra I saw, because there was actually quite a bit of that like late 90s gen Cobra in my area. There was actually one almost identical to my car, except I think it had a lot more power, supercharged and all that. So I knew I couldn't go down that route. I couldn't afford to, but I could afford to mess with the body panels, and that's what I did. And I started doing that. I started trying to make it look as good as possible, look different than every other Cobra in the area. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of money doing that. And towards the end, before it caught on fire, I spent crap tons of money having parts in the engine bay powder coated. I painted the whole engine bay, painted the intake, had the valve covers powder coated, some other parts powder coated, just to make this thing look so good when you pop the hood. I really wanted to make it something special, just to have something different from that next guy, the next Cobra down the street. And, you know, a lot of sweat equity in that car. And I fell in love with it. I enjoyed it so much. You know, I invested so much of my emotion in that car, not knowing what was going to happen was going to happen. You know, I had finally put everything back together from powder coating, made sure everything was good. The car was sitting out of commission for weeks, and I was just itching to drive it again. So, you know, I should have just took it easy and just went around the block, and which was a learning experience in itself looking back on it. Came back and checked everything, but I didn't. I went out for a long extended drive, which was the problem. And instead of taking it easy, I did pulls, ripping through the gears. On my way back home, the car developed some type of leak or something somewhere. Oil got in places it shouldn't have gotten. When I got home, I didn't realize the car was on fire. Didn't help that I parked it in grass either. It was just a really bad combination of I messed up. And, within minutes, all of that hard work, all of that emotion, all of everything I put into that car, the worrying about the next guy who's going to have something nicer, all of that was gone, up in flames. Literally, it was gone. Took out the other Fox body, everything. It could have ended so much worse. It could have caught the house on fire. It could have been so much worse than it was. That was a terrifying experience. That's why now I don't even think Buster's unlocked. No. But if you look in the rear seat, you can't even see down there. But I assure you, there's a fire extinguisher behind the passenger seat, because I am not doing that again. That in itself, worrying about fire, has created PTSD. So now I gotta worry about cars catching on fire and engines blowing. Both things have created so much trauma in me, when I'm trying to enjoy these things. I'm generally a person who doesn't have to go through something twice to learn from it. Once and done and I'm good. It really all started with the Cobra. And then it really got bad with the SHO, because at that point in time, I started going full circle on YouTube. COVID hit, couldn't really do much. I found a way to stay working for the most part, but the only other thing I could do to pass the time was make YouTube videos. So that's when I started really cranking out videos. At the time, I had the Cobra and the SHO. So exposing myself to the internet was even worse for me. After exposing myself to the internet and trying to be this YouTuber, this was before my channel was monetized. This was before I had any, I'm talking maybe a couple hundred subscribers, way early back. I was doing everything I can to captivate people, to try to be better in the sense that, I don't have the same stuff. I'm unique, trying to one up the next guy. For me, the SHO was the first modern car I ever had. It was the first car I ever had that was that new, that powerful, that, just a lot of new things. A modern twin turbo engine I wasn't familiar with, all-wheel drive I wasn't familiar with. So many new things came with that car. I ended up meeting people, not only in my neighborhood, but just locally in the same town, same zip code as me, who had SHOs. So I end up getting together with these people, and of course then the same thing happens. Oh yeah, I got a new tune from this person, come take a ride. Oh wow, yeah, your car feels pretty good. I don't know why mine feels slow. I gotta go talk to my tuner and get better tune. I gotta make my car faster. It's gotta feel better than yours. Oh yeah, your exhaust sounds pretty good. Here, check mine out. Wow, yeah, yours does sound pretty good. Probably better than mine. I can't have that. I gotta go create a one-of-a-kind custom exhaust. Same thing happened. I was just trying to find a way to make that car better than every other person in the area who had an SHO. Albeit, I think I did succeed with the exhaust. I'm pretty sure I had one of the best sounding SHO exhausts to this date. I just so wish I could have continued with that exhaust project. Regardless of that, it wasn't the fastest SHO. It wasn't the best looking SHO. It was just a typical high mileage SHO with a tune and some weird exhaust mods. That was it. But once again, I got caught up trying to be like someone else, trying to be better than the next person with the SHO, trying to be better than every other SHO on the internet for YouTube purposes. We all know how that ended. Pushing the car too hard. It developed a lot of issues really quick. Some stuff was covered under the warranty, the extended warranty I bought from the car. But then as the car got up there in mileage, over 100,000 miles, a lot of other things was starting to go bad. Running ethanol tunes on high mileage direct injection fuel injectors didn't end well. Number 6 injector stuck open, washed out the cylinder. I don't know if it actually damaged the cylinder because I never tried to fix it. The little bit of savings that I have, I don't want to dump it into this car trying to fix it. And I really don't even know if it's just an injector or I'm going to need a whole new engine. Unfortunately, did the dumbest thing I could have done and surrendered it back to the bank, which caught up to me later in life and just absolutely demolished my credit. I had a pretty good credit before that whole ordeal, and that just was dumb. You think a guy who sold cars would know better, but nope. No, it's because I got too involved with trying to keep up with the Joneses. I pushed the car way too hard, and I ended up screwing myself. That was mistake number 2. Lesson number 2. Which brings us full circle to our current car, and, well, the lessons learned from, yet again, another example of keeping up with the Joneses. You gotta remember, right before Buster's engine blew, I was really trying to push it with stock parts and not really pushing it because it really wasn't pushing it that much. I had the Boost Max on it, which gave it a couple extra PSI a boost over stock, nothing crazy. I was running a little bit of E85 in it for octane to protect it. It was fine. Fuel trims were always good and never leaned out. Everything was good. I was taking weight out, trying to see how the car would react, how fast I could be without weight and not tuning it. And that was my thing. I wanted to see how fast I could make Buster without tuning it because I had the warranty that I didn't want to void. And kind of funny how that worked out, right? And so I was doing all these different things, trying to figure it out. And I met the guys at Parker Performance. I saw what their cars were, and they had 400 some horsepower EcoBoost, and I'm like, well, mine's just over 300 maybe at the wheels. Then there came full circle with that feeling of, man, if they got 400 horsepower EcoBoost, if they're got EcoBoost that can run 11 seconds, I need one that runs 11 seconds. I can't know these guys, feel inferior to them. I'm the one on YouTube. I gotta have the faster car. I started looking into how can I make the car faster. I was looking into the JB4, and then I got to the point where I realized that I wasn't gonna be able to make the car faster unless I tuned the car. So I was going to reach out to one of the big tuners, and you all know this story too. At least some of you know the story. I was gonna reach out to them to have the car tuned and to really try to get the most out of it. I was gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna gamble everything. I'm gonna gamble the warranty. The car's been solid up this far. The one dude at Parker Performance had, stock internal 2.3 with an NX2 turbo. He was doing okay. I'm like, okay, well, maybe these engines are more robust than I think they are. So I felt comfortable pushing the car. It wasn't even weeks later, after thinking about all this, taking this all in, that one very hot day, completely annihilating cylinder 3 in this engine. And, well, here we are today. 3 times I put myself through this before I figured out what was actually going on. And I can't believe I did that to myself. I can't believe I let myself go through that. That's just ridiculous. And now that I realize what happened, I'm not gonna let this happen again. At least I'm gonna be sure I do everything I can to identify the behavior before I let myself go down that rabbit hole again. That does nothing. When you keep up with the Joneses, it costs you your happiness. It costs you a lot of money. Depending on which way you go about it, it can cost you a whole lot more, and it's not worth it. I really, at this point, I've learned not to care what other people have in their EcoBoost, or their car in general. Don't even have to be this car. It could be literally the guy down the street with some Lamborghini or something. I don't care. Good for him that he's able to enjoy a car like that. I don't care because I'm not putting myself through the craziness to be able to, have a Lambo or to have a ridiculously stupid, high horsepower EcoBoost. I have to rely on this car. It's my only car. I have to be responsible. I'm an adult. I got adult responsibilities. I got mouths to feed and people to care for. I can't let my emotions of wanting to have a car better than the next guy interfere with my quality of life. And that's what I have learned. Not to mention these cars, they were never for someone else's enjoyment. They were for my enjoyment. It seems to happen that you let other people's emotions dictate your own, and it's really tough to sometimes separate yourself from someone else's emotions, especially when you are a content creator and you expose yourself to so much on the internet. You expose yourself to people in groups, things that you just can't, that you would never expose yourself to in the area you live in or whatever. You open yourself up to this massive world of other people doing other things. It really takes a toll on your mentality, And yeah, it definitely took a toll on mine. And you know, you see where this whole video has went, and that was really the purpose, because I'm sure maybe someone watching this video has had a very similar experience, and it sucks. And it's really hard to admit that, you know, you're wrong. But I'm pretty good at admitting my mistakes, and this is another one that I feel perfectly fine admitting that I completely screwed up, and I screwed myself quite a few times. And hopefully doing it 3 times, going through all the trouble, hopefully 3 is the magic number. I will never have to worry about this again, and I'll be a lot more smarter and a lot more, you know, better off not doing that stuff again, which unfortunately is why I don't want to push Buster really hard. You know, Buster's got potential to really be an awesome car, and well, now it does. And I would love to, but I can't. I cannot put myself through the stress. I can't put the other people in my household through the crap I did because of the stress that was eating at me on trying to figure out how to get this car fixed. So as much as I would love to come out and meet people and race with you and have fun and whatever, I can't. Until this car is paid off, until YouTube pays me millions of dollars, until I win the lottery, until I at least have another car, I can't. And all of those things are likely never going to happen, and the most likely ones are not going to happen anytime soon, because everything is a process. A slow one, most times. A very painfully slow process. I don't think there's really too much more to say. I think that's about all I have to say about that. Let me know what you think about this video. I know it's been long, nothing crazy, nothing exciting, but I just wanted to get that out there, and hopefully maybe you can relate. So anyways, I think it's going to finally wrap it up here for the video. And of course, you know what to do. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with everyone you know. You want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for our next Karz Created video.